I always tell folks, I feel good about it. I was all across our district the last few days, and we like you, we travel all over the country, and you can feel it building out there. But we don't want to get overconfident. We want to campaign hard, campaign confidently, but not overconfidently. And then let's see what the American people do on November 8th. I think they're getting ready to make a change, and they sure should, in light of what we've seen from the Biden administration, the Democrats. I mean, I always do the big four. And I know you know this first issue better than anyone. We went from a secure border just 2 years ago to complete chaos, no border. We went from stable prices to a 41-year high inflation rate. We went from relatively safe streets to record levels of crime in every major urban area. And of course, we went from $2 gas to $5 gas. And that energy issue is what's really, in so many ways, driving the inflation cost as well. So that's all intentional. You and I know we've talked about the border. You've been so focused on the border issue. They're intentionally doing this to the country, and I think they're doing it on we know on inflation because they spend like crazy, pay people not to work, and drive up the cost of energy. How can Janet Yellen say a few months ago that she was surprised at the inflation? Like, you got to be kidding me. So all this is intentional, and of course, not to mention what they've done to our First Amendment liberties, the attack on our Second Amendment rights, and of course, our Fourth Amendment due process rights as well. So I think the people are fixing to make a change.
I think so too. I want to show you a video clip real quick,
okay,
and then we'll go on there. So Paul, if you go clip one, please.
Running for Attorney General because I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
I love it.
You better believe Dasani and I will stand up and call out anyone and anything that stands in the way of our progress.
First of all, we have a criminal living in the White House.
And I will fight every day until he is impeached. Impeach 45. Impeach 45. Impeach 45.
Because we're going to go in there, we're going to impeach the motherfucker.
I'm concerned that if we don't impeach this president, he will get reelected.
You know, Jim, that little montage showing just a few of the Democrats that have been focused on first impeaching Donald Trump, and then the district attorney in Manhattan indicating that she wants to go after and convict him. And these attacks on President Trump, I think, kind of reached a zenith just a couple of days ago in Mar-a-Lago. Tell us, your response to that. What do you think that means?
As you know, and as all your viewers know, it was totally unprecedented, had not happened in this great country's history. And you couple it with the history. It's been 6 years of just attack after they spied on his campaign before he was president. They tried to impeach him once, tried to impeach him a second time. They put together the January 6th committee, which is completely partisan. 9 people in the committee, all who voted to impeach President Trump, all designed to keep him from running again, which I went in to do, and I'm 100% for him. So that's the history. And you go back and remember when they initially started the spying. Never forget the name Kevin Kleinsmith. Kevin Kleinsmith is a guy who altered evidence, was found guilty of this. I mean, God bless the Inspector General for doing the investigation, but altered evidence that was initially given to the court to get those first warrants to spy on President Trump's campaign. So we know the history here, and then you do the broader history of the Justice Department. 1 year ago, almost a year ago, the Justice Department decided they were going to use domestic terrorism measures against parents who show up at school board meetings. We know that happened. We know they actually did it because we've had whistleblowers come and talk to us about it. FBI agents who come to us as whistleblowers. And then, of course, we have a bill today on the floor where Democrats are going to unleash thousands and thousands of bureaucrats to harass taxpayers. And then we had what happened Monday night at the president's personal residence. So this is frightening stuff, and we got to get to the bottom of it. But the way we actually change things is on Election Day,
right?
And that's what we have to focus on. That's how we do things in America: is you show up in a big way on Election Day, and you send a message to the left that run the Democrat Party, that run the country now, and you tell them you're tired of this and you're going to make a change.
So So let's focus just for a second on Mar-a-Lago and what happened there. In case people aren't aware, they showed up, cleared out the entire residence,
Yep.
began to go and take boxes. And now we find out that there had been negotiations. There had been a subpoena issued, and the President Trump had been cooperative with them. And now Merrick Garland came out yesterday and said, okay, we're going to go to court and unseal the warrant and the receipt of all the items seized. And President Trump put out a statement saying, please do. I want you to do it, please. Because there's nothing there. But you know what I hope they release, Jim, is the affidavit.
Right.
And why do you think it's important, perhaps, to get to the bottom of the affidavit?
Well, because that's going to spell out everything they were looking for in much greater detail than what we're going to get at, it looks like around 3 o'clock this afternoon Eastern time, when the court's going to meet. And President Trump has said, release the warrant, release the inventory list, do that. But some of the key facts you pointed out, Andy, that we've learned subsequent to the actual raid on Monday night was that they had been there. The president, as you point out, him and his legal team had been working with them. Come on in. They'd been there on 2 occasions. On one occasion, President Trump went down and talked to him, and they asked him to put up, if you can believe all the media reports, they asked the president to put a padlock on the certain door where some of these documents were stored. So they had been complying the president's down talking to him, whatever you need, whatever help you, we're glad to do. And then to jump to this, where you're sending in agents, not letting President Trump's counsel be present while they're going through his home, and then you view all that in the context of, we already know this Kevin Kleinsmith guy. We already know that they've altered evidence in the past trying to get President Trump. That should concern every American. So that's the lay of the land. We'll see what we get this afternoon after the court, after the judge rules on whether to release this information.
Yeah, I hope he does release the information. I hope we see the affidavit, because I think that's so critical. Because, as you mentioned, Kleinsmith, we have seen affidavits that have been altered or been factually incorrect in order to deceive a court to get a warrant here. And I think you've said this type of thing, and I think you're exactly right. If they can do this to the former president of the United States, who can't they do this to?
Do it to anyone. And that's what frightens so many Americans. And I'm sure you had the same experience I did this past week as you're traveling around talking with constituents and that you get the privilege of representing. The ones in the 4th District of Ohio were just, truly, they couldn't believe it. They were flabbergasted. What is going on in America where this kind of thing happens? And it's never supposed to happen this way in the greatest country ever. So I think that's going to further motivate people to show up and vote. Not just all the bad policy and the intentional bad policy, but this attack on our just fundamental due process and liberties and rights. Again, and I always say, couple it with, think about the attacks on your First Amendment rights that we've witnessed over the last couple of years, so much related to this virus. Think about what Democrats have done to your Second Amendment liberties. They told us we're not coming for your guns, but they're coming for your guns. They told us they're not going to raise taxes. They're getting ready to raise taxes today. They told us that they're going to reduce inflation. They're going to increase inflation today by spending $740 billion. So you put all that together, and it's a frightening time. But the American people get it, and they're gonna make a change.
Yeah. So we're back in Washington, D.C. today, which is normally supposed to be a work time in your district, and we're going to be dealing with this Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah.
So let's play clip number 2, Paul. We want to get that and kind of set that up, and then we can talk about what's in this beautiful bill.
I just want to say a number: 0. Today, we received news that our economy had 0% inflation in the month of July. 0%.
I'm going to take a moment to say a few words about the so-called Inflation Reduction Act that we are debating this evening. And I say so-called, by the way, because according to the CBO and other economic organizations that have studied this bill, it will in fact have a minimal impact on inflation.
That's not quite accurate. The impact on inflation will be more than minimal. It's just not going to reduce it.
Right.
So there's some pretty pernicious things in this particular bill. The green energy stuff, the Green New Deal stuff that's in there, the gimmicks that are going to be used to, you're not balancing the budget. You're actually increasing the deficit, which means that you're increasing the national debt.
Yep.
And then, for me, the most dangerous, I mean, the economic stuff's really dangerous, but the most dangerous is thematically consistent with what we were talking about just a second ago, is this notion of 87,000 new IRS agents.
Yeah.
And Jim, they scored that as $120 billion gross revenue positive. But 80 billion of it's going to go to actually hire those 87,000 agents. So it's a net, supposedly 40 billion. But that means it's going to come from the American people somehow, somewhere.
Yeah, this bill is raise your taxes, increase inflation, and increase harassment of the American taxpayer. So taxes, spending, and harassment, such a deal for the taxpayer. And understand, 87,000 people who are going to use your tax money, your constituents, our constituents' tax, use your tax money to come harass you, the taxpayer. And I would almost guarantee that these people aren't going to be paying $5 a gallon to drive to work, because they're going to work from home. They're going to be working remotely. They're going to be, Zooming it in. So they're going to harass you from their home, drinking their fancy coffee. Meanwhile, you're getting up and going to work. And where I'm from in Western Ohio, we always say in Ohio, you make things, move things, and grow things. So your agriculture, trucking, construction, manufacturing, all those people, they can't Zoom it in. They can't work remote. They can't sit at their console and drink fancy. They got to go to work. They're the ones who are going to get harassed. Or more importantly, it's going to be the mom and dad who have the small hardware store in small town America. They're going to who gave a contribution to Andy Biggs, a conservative Republican. Right. They're the ones who are going to get. We know how Lois Lerner operated it before. Exactly. So that's or it's going to be the high school teacher who's got the side business in the summertime, who is mowing lawns or painting houses. They're going to go harass him for his side business, even though he's busting his tail helping kids and working hard all summer long. That's who they're coming after, and everybody knows it. This is what's so wrong about this bill.
Yeah. So this leads me to something I get asked all the time. I'm sure you do too. When I'm going around my district in the state of Arizona, they say, "What are you guys going to do to fix this?" And so this is a bill that's going to pass today. Joe Biden's going to sign it pretty quickly. We're going to have to do something to fix it. What's your thoughts?
If we get in power, we got to say that 80 billion. No, not coming. We're not funding the creation of an 87,000 harassment force to go after moms and dads and hardworking American taxpayers who happen to be conservative, for goodness sake. We're not going to be a part of that. So that's all we can do. But we can't do that if we don't first win the election. Right. And so that's how our great system works, is on election day, you get to vote for the change that you want to see happen. And I think that's going to happen on November 8th, as I've said.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, you also have the tax, $313 billion new tax impact out of this bill. Ostensibly, it's going to, what it's affecting is it's going to stop research and development because you're taxing that. Yeah. It's going to stop buying new equipment and expanding the economy because that's where you're taxing. And so what's going to happen is you're going to shrink your economy too. So we've talked about inflationary pressures, new taxes. We've talked about the IRS, but I think it also has with the new taxes kind of a regressive impact on our economy. Yeah. And will add to the recessionary pressures as well. So
look, I don't pretend to be a genius, but we got common sense, and the folks I represent are good, smart people with common sense. Like, okay, so we're in a recession. What are we going to do? Raise taxes, increase spending? Such a deal for the taxpayer. It's like this makes no sense. And then you think about everything Democrats told us. They said, "Oh, we're not going to raise your taxes." They're raising our tax. Democrats say, we're going to reduce inflation. Oh, really? You're going to spend $740 billion more and reduce inflation? Democrats told us we're not going to come for your guns. They've done that too. Democrats, Mayorkas actually told us the border is secure. And you're like, maybe they just, I don't know what they think, but they say things that are just 100% inaccurate all the time. And what I know is, and what you know is that the country has common sense. They get it. And they're gonna let them know, I think, in 88 days.
Yeah. So I want to see the third clip, Paul, please. I want Americans to see Jim Jordan in action in the Judiciary Committee, and so this is.
The Biden administration is bound and determined to demonize anyone and everyone not in lockstep with their far left agenda. Last September, the Biden White House colluded with the National School Boards Association to orchestrate a letter to President Biden that portrayed concerned parents speaking out at school board meetings as security threats. Just 5 days later, the Attorney General issued a memorandum directing the FBI and U.S. Attorney's offices to address a, quote, disturbing spike in harassment, intimidation, and threats of violence at school board meetings. And if you remember, when we had the Attorney General in front of this committee, we asked him about where did they learn about this harassment, this disturbing spike in intimidation? Where did they learn about it? And his response was, from the school board letter that they helped coordinate and put together to send to the White House.
So Jim, when I watched that, you give that opening statement the other day, I was thinking, and then I watched Merrick Garland yesterday. I'm thinking, how can we believe this guy? He's the Attorney General, and I have no confidence in him at all. I mean, what do you make of an Attorney General who coordinates with basically a non-government organization, a plan and a pathway to spy on and harass American parents who are concerned about their kids' education? Yeah, no, it's frightening stuff. The letter was sent on September 29th of last year to the White House, asking the White House to use the domestic counterterrorism measures against parents. 5 days later, October 4th, Merrick Garland issues his memorandum, which says set up a dedicated line of threat communication, a snitch line on parents. And then 16 days after that, that memorandum, by the way, on October 5th went to all U.S. attorneys around the country. 16 days later, the FBI, top people at the FBI, send an email to all FBI agents around the country saying, put this threat tag label, this designation on any parents you investigate in line with this memorandum. So all that happens from September 29th to October 20th. All that happens in 22 days. And the first and obvious question we always ask is, when have you ever seen the federal government move that fast? I mean, for goodness sake. But when it came to weaponizing government against your political opponents, look at the speed and intensity with which they operated. We subsequently learned that prior to the initial letter on September 29th, and to your point, Andy, and this is critical, the Justice Department and the White House were talking with the School Board Association before the School Board Association ever sent the initial letter. So they were coordinating it and creating the letter as the pretext to do what they wanted to do, which was to go after parents. And they thought it was going to help them politically. Turned out it backfired. And Glenn Youngkin is now the governor of a blue state because of that. Because the Democrats ran such a crazy campaign. They said, Democrats said in that campaign, we think government's smarter than moms and dads. And a bunch of moms and dads in Virginia said, no, you're not. And we're going to show you on election day. And that's why Glenn Youngkin is governor. So with this happening, when they tell us that the White House didn't know about the raid on President Trump's home, I'm like, are you kidding me? They coordinated with the Justice Department and the School Board Association. I don't buy that for a second. I don't think most Americans do either. Yeah, I think you're right. But see, this gets to this broader thing. You've been here, and the 6 years that I've been here, we have watched the bureaucracy, the deep state, the swamp, the uniparty, whatever you call it, be weaponized. And then you said it just in your comment just now, for political purposes. Yep. It's bad enough to be weaponized, but it is Soviet-like. It's East German Stasi, it's Soviet KGB to be weaponized for political purposes against political, really the way we typically as Republicans view it, political competitors. Yeah. But now to the other side, we are political enemies and criminals. Yeah, we've used every adjective you could. It's un-American. It's not supposed to happen in the greatest country ever, with a constitution like
our great Constitution, with the Bill of Rights. It's just not supposed to happen this way. But you're seeing it. I mean, you see it with the January 6th committee. I mean, here is a committee formed where there, for the first time that I know of, you have a committee in Congress that's put together with only one side. There is no opposition party. My wife, we were talking about this great verse in Scripture, Proverbs 18:17, and it says, "The first to present his case seems right until another questions them." And it's like, that's the fundamental principle of cross-examination. And we have that in every committee hearing. Whatever party's in the majority, they get more members of the committee, but the minority party always gets a significant number of members on the committee too. And you can have the back and forth, that adversarial relationship that always produces the truth. That's why in the court of law, it's always done that way. But for the first time, we have a committee where, no, we're not going to let any Republicans on the committee. And it's going to be 9 people who voted to impeach President Trump. So that's the scary thing. And the country understands it, I think, clearly, and they see what this committee is about, and this whole pattern of, as you pointed out, the term weaponization of government for political means.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too much into J6, but I got to get, I mean, that committee is just not, it's not just 9 people who voted for impeachment. They have these people almost all have a special animus against President Trump and anybody who supported him. I mean, it's the vitriol that has come out of them. And from the day one that that committee was formed, they were talking about going after Trump, going after people who support him. And I think to myself, your result was baked in. You created this committee to get to the result you wanted, as opposed to just basically say, because ostensibly it's supposed to be a special committee to get to the truth, and it's not going there now.
No, it's. I will just point out we've caught them in eight different lies. They lied about Bernie Kerrick's travels. They lied about one of our colleagues giving a tour. They lied about Jenna Ellis's document. They lied about Eric Hirschman writing a note. They lied about the Secret Service. They lied about me twice. Once I had forwarded an email to the White House Chief of Staff. They said it was an email from me. It wasn't. It was forwarded from a lawyer here in town, respected lawyer, former Inspector General for Don Rumsfeld. They lied about it. They put a video clip up. This tells you how they operate. They put a video clip of it when I was doing an interview on Fox. And in the clip they showed, I said January 6th is the ultimate date of significance in a presidential contest, because it's the final step.
Right.
You have the election, then the Electoral College meets and states certify, and then it goes to the Congress, and then we certify the electors. So it's a kind of a 4-step process. And so they put that clip up that January 6th is the ultimate date of significance in a presidential contest. They left off what I said right before that, because right before that I said the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg said January 6th is the ultimate date of significance in a presidential contest. That sort of alters the meaning of that, but they present that's what happens when it's a show trial and there's only one side. You don't get the cross-examination element that is always present in our fair judicial system.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the videotape that one of their witnesses made where my name is mentioned.
Yep.
There was a jump cut literally right before there, and the question is taken out of context.
Completely.
I mean, we have no idea really what happened before or after, because right after it goes away.
Yeah. So think about it. If we can catch them in that many false statements without the ability to be in the depositions, see the transcripts, view the evidence, view the documents that the committee has, and we've already caught them in that many false statements, imagine how many other things they're telling us that are not accurate, that we have no clue of. So that's how bad this and how harmful this is to our system of justice.
No, that's exactly right. Well, Jim, we're basically out of time, but I got to tell you, thanks for being here. But more than that, thanks for what you do as a leader in this country, leader in this place. And when I say this place, I mean, when I used to do UN work, I used to say, well, the UN's the most corrupted place I've ever been to. But we're sure giving them a run for the money here in the United States Congress, and I appreciate your leadership there. And so if you want to get and follow Jim Jordan at Twitter at Jim_Jordan, Instagram is at Jim.Jordan.official, Facebook is Jim Jordan. Is there a dot in there? No dot in there. Just Jim Jordan on Facebook. and Truth is at Jim Jordan. You can follow me at Twitter at RepAndyBiggsAZ, Instagram at RepAndyBiggs, Facebook is Congressman Andy Biggs, and Truth is at RepAndyBiggsAZ, or you can get to www.biggs.house.gov. If you want the audio version of this, if you don't like to see my mug, you can go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts to What's the Biggs Idea. Jim, thanks so much. It was great having you here today.
Thanks for what you do. I know you take this privilege of representing folks in Congress. You take it seriously, and you do a great job standing up for the families and people you get to represent, standing up for freedom. So it's an honor to have you as a colleague and work alongside you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to some great Judiciary Committee hearings coming forward.
Let's hope.
Thanks, Jim.